I landed in a country I knew absolutely nothing about. No research, no itinerary, just a plane ticket and a backpack. I didn't even know how to say hello in the local language, and honestly, I wasn't sure what I was walking into. Within hours, I realized I had completely underestimated this place. The streets, the smells, the sounds, everything was so alive, so different, it almost felt like stepping into another world. People were smiling at me. Strangers were inviting me into their homes, and I kept thinking, am I dreaming? What I experienced in Georgia that first day completely shocked me. It wasn't just beautiful, it was mysterious, wild, and more alive than any travel guide had ever prepared me for. And trust me, this is not what most travelers expect when they visit. By the end of this video, you are going to see why Georgia might just be the most underrated country in the world and why it completely changed the way I think about travel. The moment I stepped off the plane in Tbilisi, the capital, everything felt different. The air had this strange mix of scent smoke from tiny street grills, spices I couldn't identify, and the unmistakable aroma of fresh bread being baked nearby. The streets were alive, buzzing with energy, but it wasn't chaotic. It felt like the city was breathing. Every corner seemed to tell a story. I saw ancient stone buildings with carved balconies, and right beside them, modern cafes with neon signs and people sipping coffee on the sidewalks. I couldn't help but slow down and just take it all in. It was like stepping into a place that existed in two worlds at once, timeless, yet vibrant with life. At first, I was nervous. I didn't know a single word of Georgian, and I had no idea how people would react to a tourist wandering completely blind through their city. I expected confusion, maybe even frustration, but instead, something completely unexpected happened. Strangers smiled at me. Shopkeepers waved me inside their stores. Drivers shouted directions to each other, sometimes arguing more with each other than with me, but somehow I understood enough to get by. And then I saw a narrow alley tucked between two pastel-colored buildings, vines crawling up the walls like something out of a fairy tale. At the end of the alley was a tiny bakery. Through the open window, I could see an old woman, her hands dusted with flour, kneading dough with a rhythm that seemed almost ritualistic. I had no idea what I was about to taste, but curiosity got the better of me. I bit inside, and the moment I bit into that warm, soft bread, everything changed. It wasn't just food, it was an experience. The flavors, the texture, the aroma hit me all at once, and I understood why Georgians are famous for their cuisine. In that first bite, I felt a connection to the city, to the people, and to a culture I had barely begun to explore. I thought I knew what adventure looked like, but Georgia completely redefined it. I wandered through winding cobblestone streets, the kind you only see in postcards, until I stumbled upon an ancient church perched high on a hill overlooking Tbilisi. The city stretched out below me like a living map, rooftops and winding alleys bathed in golden afternoon light. The doors of the church creaked open as I stepped inside, and instantly I felt transported back in time. The air smelled faintly of incense, and the walls seemed alive, whispering stories from centuries ago. Frescoes stretched across the ceilings, so vivid and detailed that I felt like I could step right into the paintings and walk alongside the saints themselves. Light filtered through stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns across the stone floor, and for a moment, I forgot I was even in the 21st century. Then came the locals. A man noticed me lingering at the entrance, watching the scenes on the walls with awe. He didn't speak a word of English, and I barely knew how to greet him, but somehow, through gestures and smiles, he invited me to his home for a traditional Georgian feast called a supra. I had no idea what I was in for. Hours later, I was sitting at a long wooden table, surrounded by strangers who now felt like old friends. The feast began, and every dish was a surprise, flavors I couldn't even begin to name. Textures that seemed impossible, and aromas that pulled me deeper into the experience. And then came the toasts. One after another, each toast was heartfelt, poetic, and sometimes hilariously long. Everyone laughed, clinked glasses, and shared stories I couldn't fully understand, but I felt the meaning in every gesture, every cheer, every smile. By the end, I realized something profound. This country isn't just about sights, it's about experiences that hit you in the heart. moments that stay with you long after the trip is over. Georgia has a way of surprising you in ways that textbooks and travel guides could never explain. And yet, that wasn't even the craziest part of my journey. What happened next completely caught me off guard, and it's the moment I knew this trip would change me forever. I decided to take a spontaneous trip outside the city, heading into the mountains. No guide, no detailed map, just a vague idea of a village I'd heard about, and a craving for adventure. The roads twisted endlessly, narrow and steep, and at times I wasn't sure if the car would even make it up the hills. Every turn revealed another breathtaking view: jagged peaks, terraced fields, and tiny villages clinging to the mountainsides like secrets waiting to be discovered. Halfway up the winding road, my Uber driver suddenly stopped, pointed to a barely noticeable dirt path leading off the main road, and grinned. "This is my secret," he said, almost whispering, as if he didn't want anyone else to know. Curiosity got the better of me, and I followed him down the narrow trail. The path was rough, tangled with roots and moss, but it opened up to something I will never forget. There, cascading down the mountainside, was a waterfall. Not just any waterfall, but one of the most breathtaking I've ever seen. The water thundered down jagged rocks into a crystal-clear pool below, spraying mist that glistened like tiny diamonds in the sunlight. There was no one else around, just me, the roar of the waterfall, and the endless mountains stretching into the distance. I took a deep breath, and for the first time on this trip, I felt completely alone in the best possible way. Standing there, I realized something. Sometimes the best adventures aren't planned. They're the ones that happen when you throw caution to the wind, when you follow a hunch, when you trust that the unknown might lead to magic. But just as I was soaking it all in, something happened that almost ruined the moment. Something completely unexpected that could have ended my adventure and put me in serious trouble. On the way back to Tbilisi, I decided to take a shortcut I probably shouldn't have. The main road looked too crowded, too predictable. I saw a narrow dirt path leading into the mountains and thought, why not? At first it seemed harmless, but almost immediately, the road became rougher, steeper, and far less traveled. Before I knew it, I was completely lost. My GPS had no idea where I was. My phone had no signal, and the sun was beginning to dip behind the mountains, casting long shadows over the path. Panic started creeping in. Every twist in the road seemed darker, every rustle in the trees louder. I realized I could be stuck here for hours or worse. Just when I was starting to feel desperate, something unexpected appeared on the horizon. A local farmer, riding a horse, coming straight toward me. He didn't speak English. I didn't speak Georgian. But through gestures, pointing, and a lot of nodding, he somehow understood my predicament. He led me down narrow trails I never would have dared to take alone, through hidden valleys and over tiny streams, until finally the main road appeared before us. I had made it back just as night fell, the city lights twinkling below like a safe haven. In the moment, it was terrifying, a heart-pounding adventure that had me questioning my decisions. But looking back, it was exhilarating. That short detour taught me something important. Georgia rewards the curious, the brave, and the ones willing to step outside their comfort zone. If you're willing to embrace the unknown, the country will surprise you in ways you never imagined. By the end of my first day, one thing became crystal clear. Georgia isn't just a country, it's an experience that hits you in ways you never saw coming. The mountains aren't just scenic, they're alive, full of hidden trails, waterfalls, and moments that make you feel like you've stepped into another world. The city of Tbilisi isn't just a place to sit, a maze of mysterious alleys, ancient churches, and colorful streets where every corner hides a story waiting to be discovered. And the people aren't just friendly, they make you feel like you belong, even when you're a stranger who doesn't speak the language. And there's the food. It's not just about taste. It's a ritual, a celebration, a connection that pulls you into the heart of the culture. Every meal, every toast, every smile made me realize that travel isn't about checking off sites at SAP, about moments that stay with you forever. Most travelers overlook Georgia completely, rushing past what could be the adventure of a lifetime. I came here knowing nothing, expecting nothing, and I left feeling like I had uncovered a secret the world doesn't want everyone to know. A secret that will change the way you think about travel, curiosity, and discovering places off the beaten path. If you thought what you just saw was incredible, you need to watch my next video. It is just as eye-opening, and you will be really glad you watched it. See you in the next video.